Welcome to the theater, your theater, one that represents many things to many people. Your theater is show business. Your theater is more. It is a member of your community. Whatever concerns you concerns it. It is a business, a local hometown business that depends on local hometown people for its management and operation.
I think I was always fascinated by the cinema and the operation of a cinema, and I was sort of scratching my head to think why that was. And I remember back at school, we used to have a film club, and I ended up by running this film club. And I can't think why I did. I just liked the technology. In those days, it was a 16mm projector, really old thing, and you had to thread it up and everything, and the film would break, and you'd have to splice it together and choose the films. We often used to just show what the geography teacher or the history teacher had in the stock and just show them, and it just kept people happy. And but every now and again we get something special. At Christmas we get a special a film in and do some cartoons and things like that. But yeah, so it's always been of an interest, and I loved going to the cinema as a kid, so yeah.
A lot of people, they don't actually realise that we're here, but it's the biggest screen on the South Coast, so we are quite proud of everything about our cinema, and the fact that we do get a diverse audience come to see us. Well, I think they know that they're helping a cinema that is kind of in it for the love of film rather than a profit. With kind of more mainstream cinemas where you get kind of a chain of them, they kind of try and make money, and you know, they don't show films based on films that people should see.
The cinemas, the big chains, are very commercial. They won't show anything that they're not going to make any money on. And I think independent cinemas provide a vital outlet for those films that the larger auditoria or the larger organisations just don't touch. I think there's a crying need for it.
I was paid to come down to Portsmouth from Nottingham, where we were at the time, to start a cinema, and we were looking around the country for places that weren't doing art house cinema, which is what we were doing. And the demographics in Portsmouth suggested there was enough right people who'd be interested in that type of cinema. So I came down here and we talked to the City Council. They suggested Historic Dockyard, and we installed a projector and launched the cinema.
It was run a bit on a shoestring by the Historic Dockyard. So when the whole thing folded, and a group of us, a large number of us, thought this is a great shame to see that this wonderful opportunity to show independent films from around the world was going to be lost to the city. So we did some fundraising. After about, I don't know, 6 months or so, we raised enough money to start the ball rolling. We're doing 3 screens a week. I'd love there to be something that did 6 days a week, 7 days a week. There are chains of alternative type cinemas, and they probably wouldn't come here at the moment. They look at the demographic, they look at the catchment area, and they just say it wouldn't work. But we're working on it.
I worked for several projects for the Department of Trade and Industry back in the 1990s. To promote the concept of moving to digital files for cinema. So now the world is at probably about 80% rollout for the whole world. So it's pretty close to being finalised. The problem for the smaller cinemas has mostly been the capital cost of the standards compliant equipment. The exhibitors initially were very concerned that they were going to be forced to invest very large amounts of money which they couldn't repay. There's been a lot of debate which I've been involved in, which has been around, well, can't the independents have cheaper equipment? Well, yes they could, but if they have the cheaper equipment then the big studios won't allow them to replay their movies. And secondarily, a lot of the cheaper equipment, while good, is not technically calibrated. A lot of independents have been able to invest because we had a cinema buying project in the UK which allowed the smaller cinemas to go into a collective so that the collective could bargain better prices from the manufacturers.
Digital, you get it on a hard drive, you just download it onto a server and project it from that. That's not got the sort of cost that 35mm's got. 35mm is an expensive game. Like each film is insured for £2,000.
A film will come in on 6 or 7 reels, and it's heavy, and you've got to carry it upstairs. You've then got to splice it together. You've then got to put it on a big reel and shoot it, and then you've got to break it down at the end. It's all time, and if you're paying someone to do that, it's money. So I have to say, the advent of a film arriving on a hard drive is so much easier.
I used to be projectionist and programmer at Number 6 Cinema, doing their 35mm film projection. So I had to learn how to do it on the job. I did it because we couldn't afford to pay anybody else.
With digital, it's just a file, you put it in a playlist, and it gives you a much greater flexibility than the past. So as the exhibitors have got used to that, they've become able to exploit it.
If you actually look at the likes of The View and the Cineworlds of this place, their operations are so slick. They'll have one person running several screens. All you do is you get something, you set up your program for the week, and you couldn't go home because there's always something going to go wrong, but the actual operation is very much different.
A lot of smaller cinemas, people are just doubling up, doing several roles. Like a lot of managers are also having to go and project as well, which is only a case of pressing buttons. There's no particular skill involved.
But it's sad in many respects because the projectionist had a great skill, and that's one of those things that is fast disappearing. Some of the things I've done in the past, that job's gone completely. I really do hope that somewhere film will continue in some form, and there will be some people with the skills to demonstrate it and use it in maybe in a museum kind of situation.
A lot of multiplexes will keep on their projectionists. I mean, screens that View's got, is it 8? Yeah, there'd be 2 guys handling all those screens. Originally, manual projectionists. They relearned new skills. Cinema's been trying to sort of match the technological movement in other things, like it's always had to combat TV in the 50s, and now YouTube, the net. It's had to adapt and bring in new, features, and 3D is another version of that.
3D is, I don't know, 3D is, I mean, I've been around a long time, and 3D's come and gone and time and time again.
So there's several issues to stereoscopic. One is to make good movies, the producers and the directors and the DOPs have to understand stereoscopic production. That's not the case of that many. When you get the cinema, you need a 3D projection system. There's several around, but they all have terribly low efficiencies. So they're very expensive to run in terms of lamp power and lamp life, and the customer's very often upset because their picture's so dark.
You saw that projector down at Number 6. That was £75,000, plus another £9,000 to get a 3D facility. So that's not cheap. But then it depends how good the 3D films are and how much mass appeal they're going to have.
I think people have kind of got bored with it. I mean, there will be tentpole 3D movies. Avatar 2 will be the next big 3D movie, and everybody will go to it. But most of the movies aren't of the quality or the concept of Avatar.
I mean, yeah, some films are very, I mean, I've seen some films in 3D and it is quite stunning. It's a little bit of a fad. The jury's out still as to whether it will actually become permanent mainstream. But people ask us, are you showing it in 3D? Well, I say, I'm really sorry, but we're not. Well, but 2D's great.
A lot of the market now, whether it be film or television, is driven by marketing, and it's driven by people that only want to sell certain things. 4K has been a capability from the very beginning, but only at film frame rates. So, you know, it's been simplified by the marketing message to the point where actually it doesn't work properly. So we are in a situation where probably to make 4K really successful, you'd have to go to a minimum of 100 frames per second and that's quite a long way off, and it's expensive in post-production, etc., etc., etc. But that will give you the total immersion, super amazing movie. But only a few rows of the cinema really see the benefit. But you know, you think the future, if 3D is on the wane, if Michael Bay was to make a new Transformers movie, totally immersive, wider viewing angle, 4K, 100 frames per second, it'd be a total success. But it won't be for a few years' time yet.
Has made the motion picture theater so much an ingrained part of our social life that it is difficult to imagine what it would be like without it. Suppose for a moment that the lights of this theater of ours went dark. What then? What would serve instead?
Cinemas have to become local entertainment centres. They have to be broader than simple cinemas. I believe that the surroundings to the cinema have to be integrated into the whole vicinity. You watch the movie, in the movie you see some red shoes you want to buy, you hit the button. There's a database that's connected to the movie, so when you hit the button it says, right, they've logged that. You go back to the coffee shop, you scroll through all the things you logged. Well, I'll have that, you push buy it now and off you go.
You can go to any number of websites, and I'm sure many of the distributors, before very long, you go there, you pay your money, and you'll be able to stream it to your laptop, to your home TV, whatever. And that will be a big area of growth, and everyone, all the performance, the main theatres will fulfil the pinch from that. So, but does everyone want to stay in every night and watch films on their own at home? Come out into a cinema, it's actually something to do, somewhere to meet people, and to share the experience of watching a film.
If the independent cinemas have their wits about them and they have a wider view, I don't see any reason why they should fail.
Film culture is never static, it's always changing. And they're more adept at changing their game to suit that. It's very sad. I don't like multiplexes, I must admit. Yeah, it'll be sad, but they won't disappear. But you'll just have to look around for them and maybe travel a little bit further to find one. But they'll be out there.